at this time, we're going to move to another session of the relationship talk. I'm going to bring my two panelists to join me. Raquel Davis, please put your hands together for her. And Becca. You've heard a little bit about them. These are folks that I've known for many years. They are life coaches. So if you have anything relating to life, situation, challenges, please. They are the right people to talk to. And I just want to ask them some questions about what they've been through. And then we can learn from that. And then if you have questions, you can also ask them as well. So I'm going to start with you, Becca. Why do you think many people struggle in a relationship or to find that ideal person? I know we talked a little bit about that, but if there's anything else that we didn't mention that just comes to mind.
Yeah, so a lot of my coaching comes from what's the root cause, and that's the reason why I went back to like our childhood and the households that we grew up in, the secrecy, and how that leads to how we respond to things. That's evident in all of our behaviors. Everything that we do is learned. Like our symbiotic systems are collecting data, kind of like what you were saying earlier. Law of attraction, same thing. As a child, biologically, we develop our personality, our habits, and things like that from the household that we were raised in or weren't raised in. How our parents behaved, what the traditions were, culture, so many of those things shape who we are, and then we project that on other people, or we just kind of accept them as the way it's supposed to be, and we don't realize that some of the traumatic things are things that need to be addressed. And so I think a lot of it is, and we got the questions earlier, and I was thinking about a lot about how unattended trauma causes us to form habits that are unhealthy in relationships and also prevent us from being comfortable in relationships. So for me personally, dealt with a lot of insecurity growing up. My father was deported when I was 4. So I didn't have someone in my life that was speaking over me and making me feel beautiful and confident after that. Before that, he made me feel like I was his gem, the world. All I have memories of him are positive memories, but after that, I was subject to the wiles of the devil and what everybody else thought of me. And if a kid at school thought I was ugly, I believed that because I didn't have anybody to come home to and tell me differently. And so those insecurities translated into how me becoming introverted. I'm a very extroverted, enthusiastic, and sociable person, but because I became very close in because I didn't have anyone to call the goodness out of me, the greatness out of me. And so because of that, I ran from relationships. I ran at the moment of rejection, kind of like what you were saying earlier. We try to flee the rejection before we get rejected because, it's a defense mechanism. Right. And because at such a young age, I had to start to protect myself. My mom was doing the best she could, but she was working around the clock. Yes. So she's not home, and, we're kind of just raising ourselves. And then, fast forward to adulthood, working 4 jobs, I become very independent. I can make things happen. I do what, I need to do all the way through college and so on. So that created a person that didn't need a man, but also obviously as a human longed for a relationship and longed for companionship. And so those childhood things I had to address in order for me to become a healthier person. So whenever I'm coaching, we always take a journey back into our childhood. What happened that caused us to feel this way, whether it was good or bad, and then what do we want? What do we want it to be moving forward? And then how do we, unpack that?
Awesome. Raquel.
I'll just say the same thing. It's basically rejection. Growing up, my parents were young. They were in love, but my mother, they were 19 and 20. And his mom, he wanted to marry my mother, but his mom said, no, finish school, and so they didn't get married. And here I am with a single mom, a very great mother. But again, that was producing that rejection, unaware. And then in a marriage at 23 years old, and that marriage didn't work out, again, rejection, whatever the cause may be. And so for me, before I feel that rejection again, I'll reject it first. And that's my personal story. And that's what I think a lot of people do. We automatically have in our minds what we think people think when they look at us. And it can be totally different. Let me speak for myself. When they look at me, I wonder what they, you're not thinking anything. It's that inside, and it's that spirit of rejection. and not everyone is rejecting us. So for me, I would reject before you reject me.
Thank you for sharing that and going into the childhood experience or your own past that you had. It's very important for us to understand that the behaviors that we elicit, the behaviors that we show, can be traced back to your past experience, your childhood, the environments that you grew up, the ideologies, the understanding that you have about the role of a man, the role of a woman, the expectations, can go back to what you saw firsthand from your parents. Because as you look at it, parents, they are like that point of reference. Like as a woman, if you want to marry a man, your dad would be a point of reference to a man that you either want to get married to or to a man that you don't want to get married to. And as a man, if you're trying to get married to a woman, your mother becomes that point of reference of, I want to marry a woman like my mom. And if your mom is that bad, it's like, I don't want to marry a woman like her. Right? So they become the point of reference because they serve as the first model of what relationship is. So you learn from that. So the way we act, the way we behave, you can trace that back from what happened to you. Because another important point is, whatever you saw in that childhood, it goes down to your subconscious level. And your subconscious level is so powerful. And that is where all the personalities, the behaviors, the things that you do, the actions that you carry out, they happen sporadically, naturally, without you even processing them. You just, why is something happening? You just begin to act that way. Because of what has already went down to your subconscious level. And how do you change your subconscious level? Is self-awareness. Is to say, okay, why am I behaving like this? Where is this thing coming from? And then that's why it's good to have coaches, because they can help you trace back why all these things are happening. Okay. What mistakes did you identify in your past relationship?
It all boiled down to not putting God first. So if there was ever a mistake that I made, whether it was in who I chose or how I behaved, it was because I was choosing to dishonor God and just make it happen the way that I wanted to. And then I ended up in very unpleasant situations, emotionally abusive relationships, being cheated on, being, infidelity, all of those things. So yeah, I believe it all boiled down to settling and not honoring God.
Good point.
Yeah, I think we got kind of the same story. I tell you, I was thinking about that. Not acknowledging the red flags. The flag was red as fire. But I had to satisfy that feeling of loneliness that I said, red flag, move over. I need that person here. But in the end, it showed up. But I had no one to blame but myself, because the red flag was very clear.
Yeah. And I want to say two things before I ask the audience to ask questions. Red flags and loneliness. Let me speak about loneliness, and then I will ask you to identify some red flags. There was something that I shared recently on social media, the difference between loneliness and being alone. Two different things. Loneliness is a state of mind. It's like you are missing something. You're not fully satisfied and happy within yourself. And nobody else can fill that void for you. It's you that you have to fill that. While being alone, it's a physical state. It's just like somebody is not sitting here. That is being alone. So as a lady, as an individual, as a man, you are single, you can be alone but not lonely. And when you feel loneliness, it is when you start to become desperate that you need a man or that you need a woman to be there. And sometimes loneliness is a sign that you have not identified your purpose yet. Because your purpose will satisfy you. Your purpose will make you happy. A man can't really make you happy. A woman can't really make. It's not their job. They were not created for that. We're not created for that. I'm created to do me, and you are created to do you. But as long as we are staying within the confinements of this relationship, we're not stepping out of bound. So that's why you can see some people that they say, I don't need no man, because they've identified their purpose, maybe through their business, through their job, and they are happy, they are settled with it. So loneliness and being alone, two completely different things. So you want to fix loneliness. It is you that got to fix loneliness. And as I said there on social media, I said, this is going to shock you. I said, as a woman, you are expected to be alone. Only a man is not expected to be alone. Because the Bible says, you say, you want to complete that for me? It's not good for a man to be alone. And I will create him an helpmate, which is you. So, it's okay you to be alone. And it's him that can be alone because he needs to be searching for you. He needs to be looking all over the places to search for you. You need to just be positioned in the right place so that he can find you. And he can be attracted to you. And he can make you his queen. So, understand that. Don't be desperate. Don't feel like you cannot be alone. No, you are designed to be alone as a woman. And that's why you can see some women that maybe they've been married for many, many, many years. And maybe the husband dies at the age of 60 or 65. And they don't want to remarry again. It's like, no, I don't want to remarry. I don't want anybody else. I'm fine. But a man, oh man, that guy is still... he's still going around like, I need me somebody. So I want you to understand that. Red flags. What are the kind of red flags that you identified?
You talked about dating earlier, which is so important. That's the time to get to know that person. Not wanting to work. Just not doing anything. And I thought, I saw that. Okay, well maybe it's just a hard time finding a job. No, there's weeks, there's months, there's years, But I saw something similar, in the beginning. But again, you don't want to hear it. You want what you want. And you're like, the red flags, I don't care about that. And then thinking you can change.
Yeah.
That was the biggest mistake. You cannot change anybody. We say all the time, nobody's going to change me. Well, the other person is saying, nobody's going to change me. We can't do it. And so, again, and we'll get into more, but when that lonely kicked in, and it's because I didn't know my purpose then. Today I know my purpose.
Oh my goodness.
And today, nobody gets through the gate that don't match it. And this isn't about high quality. This is about purpose driven. You know what I mean? And so then I was letting anybody in the gate just to find, but I didn't, because I didn't like loneliness. But I tell you, I enjoyed my time.
Oh my goodness.
But that's what did it. The loneliness, the red flags, those feelings are not always right. It's just something, it's a fulfillment at the moment. But you want to be fulfilled. And that lasts a long time.
Yeah. Awesome.
Can I add to
Sure.
the red flags? Reckless with their money. Needing the attention of other females. Not just complete lack of discipline, whether it's how they operate with their work ethic or down to how they operate with their food and their healthy habits, going for runs, whatever it may be. If they're not able to discipline themselves in those ways, they're not going to be able to discipline their other desires. The list goes on and on and on, but I believe that they kind of all fall in those categories. Discipline with finances, discipline when it comes to, controlling your desires and lusts, and discipline when it comes to honestly loving God. Like if you just out here living however, that's a huge red flag. That man, if you can't be submitted to God, then he cannot honor you. He'll do whatever, and if he's willing to, but if he's submitted to God, then he'll do whatever he can to make sure that he pleases you because he wants to please God. And if he's not able to do that, if he doesn't care for that, then he won't care for it when the enemy throws something in his face.
You know what? In my case, we were in the church, active. So it's two different sides. I tell you, you're really schooling me on a lot of things here. But then, see, it's that discernment and wisdom. Because people know how to camouflage as well, because that's what I had too. But again, I play part in that. But then everything in the church isn't of it. But we were in it, and only one of us was in it. And one was just of it.
Yeah.
But I didn't believe it.
Yeah. People definitely put on facades, so I'm going to say two things. I was in a relationship, and it was so funny. You started telling a story, and it sounded like you were telling my story. I was on, not just the street, the highway. We were going like 60. We went to go on the highway. Craziest story, but it felt like destiny. It was obviously the devil. So I was actually leaving work and wrapping up a project for my boss, so I'm in my phone, and this guy is in the Mercedes next to me, and he's like signaling me to tell me like you shouldn't be on your phone, kind of like jokingly. So I'm like, oh, that's a little endearing, what I can do. So I start hollering my phone number to him. I was reckless at the time.
Damn,
so
girl.
I start hollering. I'm like, oh, he's tall, dark, and you know, and he's driving Mercedes. I'm like, what? So I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what he's saying. I finally figured out what he's saying, but I was like, why don't we just have a conversation? So I'm like, 443-570, holler my phone number. And he's like, just pull over. So we pull over. Mind you, we're like on the too far lanes. I think that's enough. And so we pull over to the shoulder, and he gets out, I mean, tall, dark, and handsome. I mean, all three. I was just like, what? Tell me why this guy told me that he had been fasting for 3 days.
Oh, yeah.
That he was in the church, that people have been praying for him. He's giving me prophecies.
Yeah.
He has aunties calling me from Nigeria, telling me that I'm the one. I mean, like, I was fooled for 5 months straight that this guy was of the Lord. I learned everything was a lie. He wasn't even Christian. He was Catholic. No shade to Catholicism, but we didn't practice the same faith. I was fully, maybe not at the time, but I'm mostly operating with the Holy Spirit. I really missed all of his kick signals with this one. He would taunt me with other women. He would taunt my faith. He would taunt my spirituality. I got to the most broken space emotionally in this relationship, and all the while started off thinking that it was God. So I'm with you. I get it. Like, you can be fooled, and that's why you really have to be in God's face. Because I will admit that while I had been walking with the Lord and had been submitted to the Spirit, loneliness kicked in. And I decided to allow that to drive me and not the Holy Spirit. So when I felt the red flags, and when I mean, the dude was broke, but started a conversation with, he inherited his money after his mom passed away. She was a magistrate back in Nigeria. He was loaded. And that I would be lucky to marry him. And it went from, I would be lucky to marry him, to why would I marry you? He had me feeling like I was unmarriable.
Wow.
Within 3 months. And I mean, imagine like brokenness. I mean, I lost weight. I was in a state of depression. But all the while he's buying me gifts and making me feel like this is what I want, but also saying the things that were breaking me to the point that I questioned my salvation. He was like, because I was honest. Again, we talked about being honest up front. I shouldn't have shared my business, but I felt like, if this is God, I'm going to be open with this person. Shared, a little bit of my history. And he was like, you've had how many partners? Mind you.
Right.
I'm not going to say my number, but it was like not that big a because it was higher than his 2 that he claimed, which is probably a lie too. He was like, why would I want to marry that? You would be lucky to marry me, but still made me feel, but still stayed in a relationship and still would like show up. Right. And still, And then finally, like, why would God forgive that? Then it transitioned into that, and I was like, wait, is he right? And then I thought, when someone has you questioning your salvation, So eventually I get out of that situation through prayer and fire. Honestly, like, I had a pastor like praying for me. He told me to get rid of all the jewelry. There might have been some juju involved in some of that stuff. Because I was literally in a trance. Like, for whatever reason, I couldn't get out. As broken and as rejected as I felt within the relationship, I couldn't get out. Like, mentally, I just, stayed. And so, I get it.
You're
I get it.
I'm so glad, honored to sit next to you, by the way.
Wow.
Sister. You get rid of the things.
Mm-hmm.
I got rid of, let's be honest, the designer bags,
My
the
goodness.
negligees, the watches,
Yep.
and threw them,
$4
and
watch.
even the
Wow.
gifts to my children. I don't know if you remember this, and threw them all in the trash. Because I don't want no connection, and I need to get out of that.
Yeah.
I tell you, it can go on. I'll write the book. You guys got to get it because I got too many things to list for today. But the deception is real, and loneliness will get you in that place. And for me, listen, when I was younger, it was the baseball cap on backwards, the tennis shoes, the swag, and everything. Because I'm in the fashion industry too, so I always had an eye for look, you know. But as I got older, the garment changed, but the spirit didn't. He said, I know you're a little bit wiser, so I'll send down the briefcase and the suit, but I'm still there. You know, the same thing, that law of attraction. Now I know I gotta go home and start saying something different. I was attracting the same spirit, but different garments. So at 50, I'm like wounded. Now, it takes like Fort Knox to get up in here now. You can't get in, you know, because I'm like damaged. And it's like I'm watching everything. But again, for me, with loneliness, we do that. But I like me today, and I think you like you, because you look like it. Girl, you was fine here today. You hear me?
A long time that I'm here. I love you.
Awesome. Go ahead.
I know you want to ask another question, but I want to speak on law of attraction real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
So when you were talking about law of attraction, this is something that I realized. So after I talked about my father and how he was deported. 10 years later, around 10 years, I was about 11, 12, 13. Insert my stepfather. He was a fraud. He ends up being investigated by the FBI, Secret Services, house raided. I'm home by myself. Just traumatic experience for me. He gets locked up, post bail, gets out, goes to court. They convict him. He flees to Canada. So for so long, I said, I never want to marry a fraud. I never want to marry a fraud. And insert this guy I just said, who was a complete fraud. I mean, when I tell y'all, he said he was a doctor. Come to find out, he was a physician's assistant. He was the person helping people, sign up for insurance in a back office somewhere. He said he was a doctor. He said he had inheritance. That was a lie. So many different things. Like, he was a complete fraud. And that's only one of 4 frauds that I've dated. Like, I was attracting nothing but frauds. I dated a guy. He's letting me drive his car. I get pulled over. When I tell him, hey, I just got pulled over, is everything straight? And he wouldn't even come. Like, I'm about to get locked up in your car because you couldn't pay your tax or your insurance. Come to find out, he wasn't paying his rent, he was stealing his cable. Everything was a fraud, but on the outside, everyone thought this was just a stand-up guy. They were saying, you need to marry this guy, you need to marry this guy. I've come so close to marrying 4 frauds, and I thank God for his grace. But that was powerful, and I have to shift, that mindset, that thinking. I don't want to be thinking about what I don't want. Just think about what you want, and you'll attract the things that you want. And so I am now in a dating situation, and I appreciate the definition that you gave us, because coming from, some communities where they say you need to meet them, you need to marry them within 2 months, or, it's not the one. I found so much freedom in hearing y'all's story about, 5 years. Like, it's okay to get to know a person and to understand all parts of them before you get there. So I'm in a relationship with someone where I'm getting to know all parts of them, and I'm also utilizing that law of attraction where I'm like, okay, instead of just pointing out things that are wrong with this person, let me write down things that I want to see, and I'm literally beginning to see them. As I'm praying for this person and really believing that God has sent this person in my life, I'm seeing the things that I'm praying for. And so I believe that that's the evidence of, God moving, and that you want to make sure that you see those things and that God is involved. And if you're praying for things and you're seeing them happen, then I want to believe that that's evidence that God is involved and that you're moving in the right direction.
Awesome. Wow. This is powerful. I'm just going to ask, you guys are, oh my God. I thought my story is that bad. That story is worse than my story. They went through hell. All right. Just in case you guys got some questions. All right.
I just want to say something.
Sure.
We should get the women who are married to good men to come and hear the stories of other women who've gone through certain things in their lives.
Yeah.
Because so that those women will appreciate the men they have.
After this.
Women who are married to good good men still give those good men a hard time. Not realizing that there are women out there who are going through much worse things.
Yes. Yes.
So they need to appreciate. I'm not saying that they shouldn't give those men a hard time. There are different reasons to give men a hard time. I want you to work harder, I want you to get a job, I want you to do this and do that, do the dishes. But appreciate the men as well. Because those men are doing wonderful stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
four men who are frauds, man.
To respond to that, honestly, like, I feel convicted because, again, like, the person that I'm seeing right now, like, he is a good man, but I still give him grief because of all of the fear and rejection and, like, stuff that's piled up. So just hearing you say that, and we had a conversation before I came here where it was like, if you only knew, like, I'm really, like, trying here. And I'll look at this like, the data, I'll look at the track record, and I mean, this dude is doing an amazing job, and yet, you know, I have my fears, and so I'm gonna make sure that I start appreciating him, and by God's grace.
My God's grace. Amen. Amen. So it's a great point, and it's to know that the grass is not always green on the other side, and the relationship that you see that may be good, that you think is all pretty and well, one or two things. It may not be on the inside. And if it is good on the inside, guess what? They are watering their grass. That's why it looks green. So you got to do your due diligence to water your grass. Everybody's not always perfect, but we have to strive for perfection. But we're not always going to get there, but we are striving for perfection. Any question? The audience? Okay. All right. If you don't have any question, let me just end on this note with them. There is something called soul tie. Something called soul tie. And as I was hearing them, that just came to my mind. And soul tie can happen on different levels, but one easy way we get into the soul tie is when you've had a sexual relationship with that person. Because now your souls are combined together. And it's hard to get rid of that soul, even though you guys are no longer in a relationship. You still feel attached. You still feel there's something about this person connected to you. And that's why you might have to get rid of your earring, get rid of whatever you have to get rid of. Because you know why? You see, sex is not designed for unmarried people. And I know you guys hear that. And sometimes, like, why are these men and preachers or whatever saying don't have sex? I got it one day. I got it one day. And God gave me the understanding. Is that sex is for those that are married, that are joined together. You see, what happened in the Garden of Eden? You had God fellowshipping with Adam in the garden. And he created him and helpmate, the woman. And that means there are only 3 people that are supposed to be in that union. And those 3 people are just Adam, Eve, and God. And when God said, do not eat out of this fruit, even though they say apple, but in the Bible, he didn't say apple, he just said fruit. And Eve went, got tempted by the Satan, and ate the fruit, and came back to God. Came back to Adam. And then convinced Adam to eat the fruit. And then when God said, Adam, what have you done? Adam was saying, what are you doing? Adam was hiding, covering his body part. But prior to that, he was naked, right? But how come when he ate the fruit, his eyes got opened? So, first situation there, you have theologians and people debate about this, that the fruit can mean something else. Let's assume that it means sex. Because logically, Adam was naked until the point that he ate the fruit, and God said, what are you doing? And then he covered himself. Why would you be covering yourself? If all this while, before you ate the fruit, you were not covering yourself. Because now, there is a third party involved, maybe the fourth party now, which is the enemy. So it was not meant for a third party, let's just call it a third party, to be involved with you. Sex is supposed to be between two married people. Two married people. That's correct, right? Okay, the husband and the wife. And God being the center of it. Not another person. So if you get married, if you have sex with somebody that you are not supposed to be married to, you have a soul tie, and God gets pissed at that, and God chased Adam and Eve out of the garden because now I'm no longer involved with this relationship. Because there's a soul tie, there's a third party. So you're not supposed to have sex with somebody you are not married to. And how many men are married here? Just me? How many men married here? Let me tell you something. Most men may not tell you this. Most married men will not tell you this. If you had married men who have had sex to other people before they got married, I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 of those men, when they sleep, they still have recollection of sleeping with somebody in their dream. And there's demons called incubus and succubus. Incubus is the male demon who sleeps with women, and succubus is the female demon. Okay, so you have all these stuff, dreams going on. You sleeping with somebody in your dream. You thinking you're having fantasy. It's not fantasy. It's a result of what you've done in the past, and you have that soul tied to you. So to get rid of something like that, you need fasting and prayer. You need to probably strip yourself naked and say, this thing got it. Like everything attached to me got to go. Or you're probably in a relationship that you've broken up right now, and then I heard this recently about a man of God. Who somebody went to him, and the man that went to him was telling him that, every time I'm having issues with my wife, this girl that I've slept with in the past keeps sending me messages. And I say, are you okay? What's going on? And the man of God asked him, when you and your wife are okay, do you receive text message from that lady? He says, no. It's so tight. Because you've had something with that person. So it keeps coming back. Keeps coming back. So let's understand this gravity of soul tie. And if you had a sexual intercourse with somebody in the past, pray for God God will forgive you, but sometimes that soul is still tied to you. And some people live with that for the rest of their lives. And some, God can help them that if they do one or two things that the prophet or the man of God tells them to do, they can get rid of that soul tie out of their body. Please, I appreciate my panelists. Thank you very much.